The annual Joel Embiid injury right before the playoffs has hit. And this year, in a cruel twist, it is appendicitis. Yes, appendicitis. First it was reported early this afternoon, or yesterday, I should say, that he was sick. And you're thinking, how the hell can Joel Embiid be sick twice in the span of 1 week, essentially? Because it's a separate illness. He played games after initially missing a game due to a sickness. And you think it's Joel Embiid. Anything could be happening. There's a back to back. Maybe he's resting tonight. And it turns out that he has appendicitis. And at this point, I've made my feelings about Joel Embiid and this iteration of the team very clear and where we need to go from here. So this really didn't affect me at all. I don't want this team to make the playoffs. I want this season to be over. It's painful watching them. I said that in my last video. So when this news hit, if this would have happened 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, this would have destroyed my mental health. But right now, I do not care. Of course, everybody is in a rush. Everybody's saying it's just so unbelievable, all the things Joel Embiid has had to deal with. How dare you even mention trading him now? Like, that's not what's important. And first of all, before I address that, let's just address this notion that he is completely, not at fault and he's just unlucky. A ton of his injuries have been unlucky. Breaking his face, people stepping on him, this, that, the third, all that. But this is a guy who came into the league overweight, out of shape. His stories with being obsessed with Shirley Temples is well known. He gained 50 pounds during his rookie year in which he didn't play. They wrote a whole book about it, Tanking to the Top. If you haven't checked out that book, you should. It details about how Brett Brown and this medical staff completely lost control of Joel Embiid when he was younger. He never took his fitness seriously. And then what led to all his lower body injuries to start his career and even later in his career is the fact that he's unable to dunk the ball or jump up and land like a normal human being. He plays basketball like a giraffe that is like 1 day old, that doesn't know how to walk. He jumps and he jams his leg into the ground without bending it. He doesn't understand simple body mechanics. I wish I was joking. I'm not. Go look at almost all of his lower leg injuries. It's him just landing awkwardly on the ground. It's not tripping over anybody. It's not just, getting shoved or somebody landing on his knee. A lot of people, cite the Jonathan Kuminga play, him landing on his knee, as to why he tore his meniscus a few years ago. But he tore his meniscus before that from an awkward landing in a previous game. They just didn't realize it was a torn meniscus until that happened. So he comes in out of shape almost every year. He has to play himself into shape. He doesn't take his diet seriously until later in his career. And early on in his career, he's destroying the cartilage in his knee because he keeps jumping up and landing and jamming his legs into the ground. I wish I was joking, but I wasn't. So I don't want to hear all this stuff about it's not his fault. Secondly, when it comes to, oh, how dare you think about trading him, it's not his fault. I don't care. We have to be done with this. Whether it's his fault or not, appendicitis, that's bad luck, whatever you want to call it. It's not about his diet or how he approaches the game, how much sleep he gets at night. I understand that. That doesn't change the fact that we can't keep doing this. We cannot keep doing this. We gave this a test run. Tyrese Maxey, we didn't know if he was going to take a leap. He did. He's going to make All NBA. We didn't know about if we were going to keep the pick that ended up being VJ Edgecombe. We kept it. So now we have this team with Paul George, and that's a whole different story. He's been a disappointment. He's came back down to earth. But the difference between Paul George, and I'll get to that or whatever, but I just want to stay on this Joel Embiid thing. We have to be done with this. We have to approach, the minute this season ends, we have to be looking to trade him, whether it's to Golden State, to some dumb team that thinks they want to pair stars up together still, and he still has something left in the tank, or to some team that's tanking, Chicago or Memphis or Milwaukee, some team that's trying to take back picks for bad money, that we can give them an extra pick. We have to stop this. Because Tyrese Maxey is going to demand a trade sooner or later. VJ Edgecombe, that smile you see when he plays, it's going to turn into a frown soon. Players, they can't put up with this anymore. You have to completely change the way you play as a team when Joel Embiid is in versus when he's out. And it's not fair to everybody else on the team. It's not fair to the fans. It's not even fair to Joel Embiid. He has to be traded, or you have to force him to medically retire. We're not doing this anymore because this is a disaster. Because I guarantee you that next year when he gets injured, whether it be in the middle of the season, whether it be at the end of the season in the playoffs, Tyrese Maxey is demanding a trade. And I am not wasting the prime of Tyrese Maxey. All you Embiid stands can argue over how good Maxey is, if he's the first option, second option. I don't care. This is what I want to do. I want to build a team of players that actually play basketball. That's what I want to do. Nobody thought Jaylen Brown could be a number one option on a team. Everybody thought the Celtics were going to tank this year, and guess what? They're a top 2 seed in the East. Jason Tatum's back, and they're probably going to win the title or come out of the East. Have a good chance to do so. The past 10 to 12 years has either been a team that has been so bad, historically bad, as they're tanking to get a player like Joel Embiid, or they've had a player like Joel Embiid, but half the season is him missing the season. It hasn't been fun. Let's just build a team with good players that we know are good. Let's try and find some actual role players, not Kelly Oubre, not Quentin Grimes, some actual role players that are smart. I know that's hard for Daryl Morey because this is what he struggles with. And let's see what we can do with a new coach. That brings me to my next point. Nick Nurse needs to be fired. I've said it a bajillion times. I'll say it a gajillion times. I'll say it an infinity amount of time. I don't even know if that's a saying. I'll say it till my tongue falls out of my mouth. He needs to be fired. The team has given up. He has no offensive infrastructure. He has no defensive infrastructure other than scramble as best you can and leave shooters wide open. He's run Tyrese Maxey into the ground. Tyrese Maxey is also injured now, playing with this broken tendon or broken finger. He can barely shoot. His body language is terrible. He's checked out. The whole team's checked out. They don't want to deal with this shit anymore. So this just has to end. And you have all these Embiid stands that are still, well, if Embiid's not on the team, you're going to win 35 games, 40 games. What is the alternative? This is insanity. These people that are still holding out hope that he can be healthy for a playoff run, at this point, you're like a 15-year-old that believes in Santa Claus. You're pathetic. Move on. You can spend all day talking about how, you want to be a Stan account. You want to talk about how great he was, his on-off numbers, historic this, historic that. He was on track to have the best season, whatever. I don't care. It's 2026. Move on. And all these idiots that are taking their anger out on Tyrese Maxey and everybody else because Joel Embiid can't stay healthy, get a fucking grip. This is over. This has to be done. And I don't want to hear about how next year will be different. This is the test run, they're going to twist this as if to say, well, his knees were actually fine. That worked. The surgery that he had last offseason worked to fix his knees. It's just appendicitis. It's a fluke. Guess what? I don't care. It'll be a fluke every year. And even though his knees were working and he could play offense, he's not the same defensively. They targeted the hell out of him. He can't play defensively anymore. And let me get to Paul George, because a lot of people are going to say to trade Paul George this offseason. First of all, it's not realistic to get off both contracts. It might not even be realistic to get off Embiid's. But the thing about Paul George is he's a wing player. You can just slot him in and out of the lineup, and he'll fit in seamlessly. Joel Embiid, when he plays, he has to be the star. I've said this a million times. He's incapable of being a role player. He can't just sit in the dunker spot and be a finisher. He's not athletic enough. He's not a quick enough decision maker. He's not a good enough passer. He's none of those things. So when Joel Embiid plays, even in his diminished state, which we saw this year and to a much larger extent last year, he has to be the focal point of the offense. And by default, because he's a center, he has to be the focal point of the defense. And so on offense, it's not that big of a deal, except for the fact that the players constantly have to keep changing how they play, and it requires you to never gain any chemistry or continuity. On the defensive end, it's terrible because he can't move. And he's part of the reason why the defense is always scrambling. Now, Nick Nurse, I'm not going to let Nick Nurse off the hook. That's his system, is he wants guys to gamble and give up open threes and just do whatever they can to get steals, overhelp on the nail, all that. But a lot of times, Joel Embiid is just getting beat, and guys have to compensate that by constantly switching and overhelping, and it just leads to a bunch of miscommunication. All that is to say, The Philadelphia 76ers cannot open next year with Joel Embiid on the roster. He can't. I'm sorry. He wanted to retire a Sixer. He can still do that if he wants to medically retire. He wanted to prove to his son that he's still great. I'm sorry. You can do that somewhere else. You either get traded somewhere else or you medically retire. They don't owe him anything. He hasn't gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals. I know he's been injured. This is not like Dirk Nowitzki and his farewell tour. This isn't Paul Pierce. This isn't Kobe Bryant. The Sixers owe this man nothing. And they actually have players on the roster that are worth investing in to see if we can build a contender around. VJ Edgecombe, I strongly believe, is going to be an all-star sooner rather than later. I know he has his weaknesses. Look, people are ready to build around VJ, even trade Maxey. It's ridiculous. VJ needs to tighten up his handle. He needs to work on his shooting. He needs to work on a lot of things. But you can see it with him. He's exceeded my expectations, far exceeded my expectations this year. Tyrese Maxey took another leap this year. He was an All-NBA player. It's time to build a team. Just build a team and see what happens with good role players, with players that play every night. Because watching this team, I can't do it. I know a lot of fans feel the same. It's just tiring. It's exhausting. Fans have lost interest. They're either frustrated or they're apathetic. But there's nobody that really tunes into the Sixers every night other than sickos like me, because I care about individual performances, to watch this team because they play hard or they're an up-and-coming fun team or they have any chance of contending. It's time to end this era. It has to. And I know Daryl Morey, I want him to get fired because he punted years of Embiid's prime with the James Harden fiasco, and then he doubled down on it. He wasted a year, a gap year, to sign a worse player in Paul George, and then he extended Joel Embiid and got us in this situation. If he's back, whoever the general manager is, you can't convince yourself that this guy's a star and the only way to win the NBA is a superstar, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. This has to stop. You have to acknowledge the human element of the sport, the fact that the players are absolutely fed up. And for all the Embiid stands that constantly criticize Maxey and say, oh, hey, Maxey's nothing without Embiid. You know, these guys have memorized every shot that Tobias Harris has missed in the playoffs. They know every lineup combination that Joel Embiid has played in the playoffs. Every time he's failed in the playoffs, they know exactly who's on the floor and who to blame other than Joel Embiid. But when it comes to Tyrese Maxey and who he has to play with, when Joel Embiid is off the floor and he has to play with three big men at the same time, or a bunch of non-NBA players like Jabari Walker, Justin Edwards, Adembo, and Andre Drummond, suddenly all that context and all that nuance no longer matters. I see right through them. They are pathetic losers. You know, when Tobias Harris misses a three in the playoffs, then all of Joel Embiid's sins are forgiven. But the minute Joel Embiid misses a game, it doesn't matter who Maxey's playing with. The only headline is Tyrese Maxey, these are his numbers without Joel Embiid. I see right through your bullshit, so does everybody else. And this isn't even to say that Tyrese Maxey is capable of being a number one. It's to say, I don't know if he can. He probably can't. But guess what? Who gives a shit? Just field a team that gets on the court. We're sick of this. It's over. It's done.